Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. This afternoon, the Senate Select Committee investigating the impeachment of Kirinyaga Governor Anne Mumbi Waiguru will lay on the table of the Senate its report. The committee has been hearing the impeachment over the last couple of days, and that report will be laid on the table of the Senate. It is a proceeding that you will be able to watch live on KBC Channel 1, courtesy of PBU and the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. For now, we have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you this afternoon. My name is Edward Kabasa, and on your screen there is Byron Abuli, the sign language interpreter this afternoon. Northeastern Regional Commissioner Nicodemus Ndalana is calling on residents from Garissa County to collaborate with the police in efforts to enhance security in the area. The call follows increased cases of intercommunal conflict that has seen 11 people die in the past 9 months in Baya location.
Addressing the press after meeting elders from the two fighting clans in Garissa County, Northeastern Regional Commissioner Nicodemus Ndalana said 4 suspects are already in custody.
Mutuonyeshe mahali punduki ziko na musikubalie punduki zingine ziingie huko.
Ndalana said security agents in the area have stepped up surveillance to curb the cases of crime, even as he called on residents to share information with the police for immediate response.
Kisikia kitu kama hiyo, munatueleza mara moja. Mwenye ananunua punduki, mwenye ameuziwa na wenye kuuza, tunashika mara moja.
Elders from the two communities in conflict over land say authorities know the identity of the criminals.
Health officials in Narok County have commenced contact tracing of the latest coronavirus positive case who works with a local mobile phone service provider. Narok Governor Samuel Tunai says the patient who had traveled back from Nakuru is in isolation at the Narok Level 4 Referral Hospital.
Narok County confirmed its 3rd case of coronavirus after a Safaricom employee who had traveled to Nakuru tested positive for the deadly virus. Narok Governor Samuel Tunai, who confirmed the case, also response team had already identified those who came into contact with the patient, and their samples have already been taken for testing.
Sasa hivi tumepata report ingine ya kwamba tuko na mwingine mwenzetu mmoja ambaye anafanya kazi hapo Safaricom hapa town, ambaye anaishi Nakuru lakini anafanya kazi hapa. Alichukuliwa sample huko Nakuru, na ile taarifa tunapata ni kwamba hata yeye ako COVID-19.
Narok County Commissioner Samuel Kimiti is now calling upon residents to follow government's prevention guidelines and avoid unnecessary movements.
Nakitaka tuulize wananchi sasa, kitu inaitwa mask iwe ni lazima, kwa sababu njia moja ya kuhakikisha kwamba hii ugonjwa tuko naye ni kuvaa mask.
Ni muhimu watu wa Narok wajue sasa hiyo ugonjwa uko na sisi. Kuna ule mtu mmoja wa kwanza ambaye alikuwa pale Suswa, wa pili ni ile construction site ya sewage, ambaye kutokana na hiyo mtu ambaye alipatikana ilibidi hatua ichukuliwe kufunga hiyo site.
So far, 41 counties have reported cases, with Nairobi leading with 2,528 cases. Elsewhere, Bomet County government has unveiled a fully equipped COVID-19 isolation and treatment facility at Koiwo Hospital in Konoin sub-county.
Qualifies as a center that can be used as an isolation center. So this facility, as it is, has a capacity of 24 beds, but we have space. We have around 95 beds for isolation in Bomet County. But we want to expand the number to 300. That is the minimum that we've been given by the Ministry of Health.
President Uhuru Kenyatta had early this month directed all counties to have at least a 300-bed isolation center in readiness to deal with the surging number of COVID-19 cases in the country. Bomet County has one confirmed case of coronavirus. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
The confirmed death toll from the new coronavirus has exceeded 480,000. World Health Organization warns governments against rolling back measures introduced to curb the spread of the pandemic. WHO cautions that lifting restrictions could lead to a deadly resurgence. Globally, over 9.6 million people have been infected by the deadly virus.
As the new coronavirus spread across the world, an increasing number of countries imposed extraordinary curbs on movement and social contact in a bid to contain the spread of the disease and prevent healthcare systems from being overwhelmed. However, with economically crippling lockdowns extended in country after country, governments have been pressed to ease restrictions on key businesses and industries. With a vaccine at least a year away, the world faces an uphill battle, and the World Health Organization is warning against easing lockdown restrictions.
First of all, the decision has to be based on the scientific committee. Normally, most of these countries have national task forces, they have the incident management system. There should be a risk assessment to see, over the last 2 weeks, has the trend of the COVID cases been going down? Has the number of hospitalizations been going down? Has the number of deaths been going down? The second is the capacity to test and isolate cases. Because as countries ease these measures, if they can quickly test the cases they find, identify them quickly, isolate them, find the contacts, quarantine those contacts, then you get the pools of infection, the sources of infection from the community. And really, this is a multi-sectoral approach because you have to work with multiple stakeholders. All sectors have to be involved, and these guidelines are just kind of the technical public health measures that need to be taken into consideration.
Brazil, India, and Indonesia are leading a group of middle and low-income economies that have begun to ease lockdowns despite rising coronavirus infection numbers as pressure grows to reopen businesses and curb rising poverty. The South African government, which introduced one of the continent's toughest lockdowns, has begun easing restrictions, with President Cyril Ramaphosa citing concerns they have been damaging the economy. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
Back home, over 14,000 workers in the hospitality industry in Nakuru County are on the verge of losing their jobs due to the extended closure of bars and liquor outlets as part of measures to stop the spread of COVID-19. The workers say efforts to get medical certificates has proved futile due to lack of testing kits at the Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital.
The effects of COVID-19 continue to be felt in different sectors of the economy. Workers in the hospitality industry are among those expressing fears of loss of livelihoods. According to the Bars, Hotels and Liquor Traders Association, traders in the sector are already grappling with losses running into millions of shillings due to the effects of the pandemic.
We have a lot of problems with rents. The landlords are on our neck. We have loans. We're talking of restructuring a loan that has a cost on top of it. We're talking of losing very talented employees, and we are still paying our employees even when they're at home.
The association's chief executive officer, Boniface Gashoka, is calling on the government to allow bar owners to operate on takeaway basis to save jobs and salvage stock worth millions of shillings in their stores.
Please, Mr. President, as we're planning to open the economy, give us an opportunity to sell our products on takeaway, the same way the hotels were given. This is to cushion us from the so many problems that we have.
Speaking in Naivasha, Gashoka noted that despite Nakuru County government waiving COVID-19 screening fee, none of their members had received a certificate as the testing kits have run out.
We are, however, concerned that the cost of COVID-19 tests remain high and urge the government to make it free, to make it easier for workers in the food sector to get tested and resume work as soon as possible.
The association says over 200,000 people will lose their jobs and over 10,000 bars will close down if the proposal by Treasury to increase excise duty on keg beer is enacted.
Yule mteja ambaye ni kijana mdogo ambaye alikuwa anaenda kwa illicit brew atashindwa kwenda kununua hiyo kitu, atashindwa kununua keg kwa bei ya shilingi 100.
Gashoka says they made recommendations to Treasury on the effects of excise duty, but these had not been addressed in the budget proposals. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kepnoso.
A charitable organization has enlisted shopkeepers in Kibra to help in a food distribution program for the needy. The initiative, being spearheaded by the Shining Hope for Communities organization SHOFCO, will see locals around Kachwekera, Lindi, Silanga, among other areas across Kibra access food from local shops for free. The organization's chief financial officer, Ed Gashuna, says over 5,200 people will benefit from the program that seeks to cushion the most vulnerable in these difficult times of the coronavirus.
In Kibera, we've identified 8 shopkeepers. This is businesses that are thriving. These are people that we know very well, people that we've engaged with in our work in Kibera. These shopkeepers have agreed to have signed an agreement with us where they will provide those basic supplies to the members of the SHOFCO Urban Network. They've basically been operating using a food voucher system. In order to observe the element of social distancing, what we've done is we've staggered those shopkeepers across Kibera so that at any given time, you're not going to have many people congregating in one space.
Leo tulikuwa tuna redeem voucher ya SHOFCO. Walikuwa nakuja na voucher. Tunaangalia kwa sheet kama inafanana, alafu tunawapea chakula. Hiyo chakula ilikuwa unga ngano, unga ugali, sukari na mafuta.
Kama hii duka itaserve Silanga, Lindi na Soweto. Na watu wenye ambao ni members wetu wa community ni almost over 7,000. Kwa hivyo tuna expect hapa kwa Ochieng Nyando, tuna expect watu over 2,000 watapewa chakula hapa.
Deputy President William Ruto says Kenyans must learn to respect and accommodate the dreams and aspirations of the youth in the country. Ruto says irrespective of the size, all legitimate businesses must be supported in equal measure.
Nijaribu nikuwahi but bado unaona umeniweza excellency, uko smart sana. Uko smart sana.
The Deputy President was speaking at his current residence when he donated work equipment and machines to youth groups drawn from various constituencies in Nairobi County.
Sisi hii ni group inajiita Kayaba Strong Sisters. Sisi wana dobi tunafunga na mikono. So sisi tunashukuru sana kwa hii machine, tunajua ita boost hustle yetu. We thank God for you. Yes, na Mungu akubariki sana.
The Deputy President called on Kenyans not to discriminate against one another and help uplift small businesses.
Lazima tuwe na taifa ambayo ndoto ya kila mtu iko na nafasi ya kutimia.
Sisi tunajiita Kayore Raving Center Sisters, tuko Komarok Ward. Tunadeal na salon, kurembesha wa mama nywele. Tunashukuru sana venye umetuboost.
Hakuna haja kuchagua kazi, bora wekiunga kwa meza. Tumeshukuru sana, muendelee kushikana hivyo juu hadi mmefanya maizi tunatambulika.
Thank you my dear.
The donation made by the DP included water tanks, shaving machines, washing machines and shoe shining stations, which will be used by the youth to boost their businesses as part of an empowerment program. And in other matters, a 42-year-old man has been murdered under unclear circumstances in Matunwa sublocation in Kisii County. Locals claim the man could have been lured to his death by his estranged wife. Kisii County Commander Jabal Munene says police have launched investigations into the murder, warning members of the public against taking the law into their own hands.
Irate residents of Chirenge village, Matunwa sublocation in Kisii Central, attacked a man and a woman on suspicion that they were behind the murder of a man whose body was found dumped outside his house Friday morning. The two suspects were admitted at Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital after sustaining serious injuries. The deceased, Mogire Nyamao, is said to have separated with his first wife, prompting him to marry a second one. But under unclear circumstances, the estranged wife came back, managed to entice him with illicit brew on the fateful night before he was found dead.
Hii marehemu ni mtoto yangu. ya kasini yangu. Tunimesikia asubuhi kelele. Nimekuja hapa tumepata mtoto ya ndugu yangu amekufa.
Aliamua kuchengea huyu mke wa pili nyumba. Akaichana, alikuwa na mpango wa kuweka mapati juu. Wakamaliza fundi wakaenda. Ilipofika usiku, huyu mke mkubwa walikuwa na yeye kwa nyumba, akamuuga na watu wengine.
Mimi ni mjukuu wa hii familia. Huyu mwenye amekufa ni ango yangu. Sasa tunaomba serikali itusaidie.
Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Ben Chumba, for that report. If you are just joining us, this is Channel 1 Lunchtime News. We're taking a short break. Don't go anywhere. We still have plenty more lined up for you.
The FA Cup is back on your true sports partner KBC Channel 1 with the quarterfinals of the competition set to take place this weekend. Norwich will be at home to Manchester United this Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
Igalo scores! Oh, saved! Krul went the right way!
In our action-packed football bonanza, don't miss out.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
In a tailspin, I'm lonely, borderline desperate.
Don't you want me?
My ex-wife, she's getting remarried, but I'm fine with it.
Well, yeah, I overheard your speech over there on the couch.
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
it was really honest.
Are you flirting with me? I'm like Shrek. What are you doing? What are you doing here in the forest?
I didn't say
as
that.
Shrek? I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I really like you. Is it crazy for me to say I wanted to work out? She's amazing. Man, I can't believe how deep into it I am. You are out of your league. I will knock you out. What? Your son hates me.
How long have you felt like this?
It's been building.
He's very mature, but he's not come into himself yet.
I'm so proud of how close we are. Listen to me, you little weirdo. If you want to mess with me, I want to mess with you right back. Oh, buddy.
Everything okay?
The COVID-19 pandemic continues to devastate travel and tourism industry world over. But all is not lost, at least in the counties.
Kitu ya kwanza ni kuheshimu njurini sheki. Hii inaitwa kirunya. Ilikuwa inatumiwa kuketa wasichana.
Beginning June 25th to 28th, we highlight tourism products available in Meru County at 9 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you very much for keeping us company. Irate protesters in Isiolo town have set ablaze a lorry that killed a motorcyclist who was ferrying tomatoes to a market in the area. Eyewitnesses claim the lorry was speeding when the driver lost control of the vehicle, hitting the cyclist, killing him instantly.
Police in Isiolo town had a rough time trying to contain angry protesters who engaged them in running battles after touching a lorry that hit a man near a market in the town.
Very stupid.
The officers had to lobby tear gas canisters to disperse the rowdy protesters who retaliated with stones. According to Steve Mbabu, the angry mob touched the vehicle after the driver vanished from the scene of the accident.
Sasa hapo mabishano ikawa mingi, au jamii ya huyo kijana alikufa, wakaanza kuulizia mwenye gari. Askari akamwambia ngoja tafadhali, huyo mwenye gari anaweza kuwa hata ameshikwa, ngojeni tu tutazughulikia. Sasa kitambo tu maaskari waitwa akuje na wakakuja, alafu tukaona moto ikaanza kutoka kwa nini? Kwa lori.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troinjwe.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is Channel 1 Lunchtime News, and of course you can keep interacting with us throughout our social media platforms, on Twitter at KBC Channel 1, on Facebook KBC Channel 1. This live broadcast is also streaming on Twitter. And let us take a look at other matters. The National Environment and Management Authority, NEMA, has blamed London Distillers Kenya for the pollution affecting some housing units in Athi River. While appearing before the National Environment Tribunal, the authority said discharge from London Distillers Kenya factory has affected the construction of more than 600 housing units, accumulating to loss of 1.4 billion shillings for investors in the area.
Just as much as my offices had been closed.
The dispute between Chinese developer Eden Properties and liquor manufacturers London Distillers Kenya over alleged pollution affecting the former's housing units in Athi River has escalated, with the National Environment Tribunal set to give directions on the issue on the 2nd of next month. The two firms have been embroiled in a dispute over air pollution and disposal of waste into the waters of River Athi.
When was the last time you visited the project site?
LDK, not the project site here. I'm talking about London Distillers. I was there yesterday in
No,
London Distillers.
just answer the question. When did you last visit the project site?
Which project?
Okay.
LDK had sued the National Environment Management Authority for licensing the Chinese investors project. The National Environment and Management Authority is blaming London Distillers Kenya for pollution affecting housing units in Athi River. While appearing before the National Environment Tribunal, the authority said discharge from LDK has affected the construction of more than 600 housing units, accumulating to loss of billions for investors in the area. The National Environment Tribunal will determine the direction Edmund Property Limited will take in completion of its housing units in Machakos County. NEMA says it followed the due process and considered both supportive and defending opinion in establishing pollution in the area. LDK wants the Edmund project delayed until the row is resolved. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
The National Authority for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, NACADA, has issued a stern warning to the general public as well as liquor outlets against flouting government guidelines on curbing the spread of COVID-19. During the commemoration of the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, NACADA Board Chair Professor Mabel Imbuga raised the alarm over increased cases of drinking parties in homes in the presence of children, as well as an upsurge in online sale of liquor, which exposes young persons to risk of alcohol abuse.
Kenyans may need to review their alcohol drinking behavior amid the closure of liquor premises across the country. National Authority for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, NACADA, says individuals, especially parents who drink from home, expose underage children to the risk of drug abuse.
We are particularly concerned over the alcohol drinking behavior
characterized by increased cases of drinking bouts in homes in the presence of children, some of whom are carrying out online learning programs.
Home is where the children are. Home is where children are learning. When you convert homes to bars, you are undermining the serene environment required for learning.
NACADA Board Chair Professor Mabel Imbuga and NACADA Chief Executive Officer Victor Okioma also raised concern over the upsurge of online sale of alcohol.
Online sales of alcohol has also shot up. And our concern is that when you find online sale of alcohol, my daughter who is 12 years can go to Uhuru Park and a motorbike will deliver alcohol. How do you guard against underage drinking? That's where the challenge is.
NACADA has also put on the spot individuals who lock themselves inside bars in violation of government guidelines on containing the spread of COVID-19. The authority maintains it will pull all stops to discourage reckless behavior as the country battles to manage the global health crisis.
And wish to strongly warn those that are perpetuating such crimes that the law will catch up with them.
They spoke during celebrations to commemorate the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, where winners of a countrywide national art and essay competition were feted. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
The national government has begun the construction of 2-foot bridges at a cost of 235 million shillings in Magarini to replace the ones swept away by floods. Local leaders say the bridges will help hundreds of residents who cross the crocodile and hippo-infested River Sabaki daily to operate safely and also boost the economy.
It is a sign of relief for Magarini residents who have for months risked their lives crossing the hippo and crocodile-invested River Sabaki after the two main bridges washed away by floods 3 years ago were rebuilt. The government moved in to reconstruct the Bombi Kisiki footbridge and Shakahola Hawe Wanje bridge at a cost of 235 million shillings.
Mara ingine ninavyojua kwamba mto huu pia huwa uko na mamba na tushapoteza maisha ya watu kupitia kwa wanyama hawa mamba. Ndiposa tulipoona hivyo kama viongozi tukaongea na serikali na wakakubali kwamba wangetujengea bridges hizi mbili.
Magarini Member of Parliament Michael Kingi called on the government to speed up the funding of projects so that they are completed in the stipulated time frame.
Nafikiri kwa sababu sasa shule zimefungwa kwa sababu ya COVID, naomba kwamba waweze kuharakisha, wahakikishe kwamba facilitation hasa kwa contractor iwe inafanywa kwa wakati ili kwamba waweze kumaliza kabla shule zifunguliwe.
Speaking during the inspection tour of the bridges, Chief Engineer and Project Manager Engineer Hilary Nyanga says the mini bridges will allow small vehicles to pass through, including ambulances to cater for emergency.
Overall works progress is at 54%, and we expect to complete it in the next 3 months at most, so that the residents can have use of the facility.
The two former footbridges will now be upgraded into a permanent one.
And in other matters, a 26-year-old man in Kilome Village, Makueni County, is demanding justice after Kilome Police Station failed to release his impounded tools of trade, even after he produced a court order. Paul Mutua, who runs a timber business, says despite showing relevant documents from the area forest officer sanctioning him to cut trees, his tools were confiscated and his employees locked up in Kilome Police Station.
Every year, the national government allocates 2 billion shillings to vocational training. Principal Secretary in the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Dr. Julius Juan, is challenging such institutions to strive to become production units to serve local small-scale trading.
To apologize for that, and that story that just ran is that the national government intends to equip technical and vocational training institutes to address the unemployment rate in the country. Speaking in Moi Ben, the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Dr. Julius Yuan, said the move will enable young people acquire skills to navigate their livelihoods.
Here, the national government allocates 2 billion shillings to vocational training. Principal Secretary in the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Dr. Julius Yuan, is challenging such institutions to strive to become production units to serve local small-scale traders and small and medium enterprises.
Even on the money that is allocated to the county, because other county have their own education budget. Education budget, ECD, Vocational Center, there is an additional 2 billion shillings that is distributed to all the counties.
John says the youth should rise up, make use of available opportunities at the institutions to build livelihood skills.
Every learner who comes to this institution will get 30,000 shillings from the government, paid as fees per year for their learning. On top of that, they will apply to Higher Education Loans Board and get another 40,000.
The PS said the government is pumping so much resources in developing skills of young people who will steer the engine of the country's economy. Irene Mchuma Udim, Channel 1.
And further afield, the Democratic Republic of Congo has announced that the battle against the world's second deadliest Ebola outbreak is officially over. Country's Health Minister Etane Longodo made the announcement after no new cases were reported in the country 42 days since the last survivor tested negative for the deadly virus.
After 2 years of battle against Ebola outbreak, the worst ever outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has officially been declared over. No new cases of the disease has been reported in the northeast of the country since April 27, 2020. DRC Health Minister Eteni Longondo said about 2,280 people died since the outbreak began in August 2018. Moheti said there are many lessons that have been learned from overcoming Ebola that can be used in the fight against COVID-19. However, DR Congo, which is the size of the mainland Western Europe, is dealing with a fresh Ebola outbreak in the northwest of the country. And former Burundi President Pierre Nkurunziza, who died almost 2 weeks ago of cardiac arrest, will be buried today in the capital Gitega. The government has urged the public to be on the roadsides and give him last respects as his has moves from Karusi Hospital, where he died, to Gitega Stadium for the last honors. Elsewhere, Senegal has allowed students sitting the national exams back in schools, but under strict guidelines that include hand washing, keeping social distance, temperature checks, and wearing face masks. It has taken 2 weeks of preparation for schools to reopen, including cleaning and disinfection of classrooms. Learning days will last for 6 hours, ending at 3 p.m. local time. School lunches have been cancelled, with the sale of food in and around schools also banned. Finally, in Indonesia, at least 94 refugees have been rescued in the province of Aceh after spending weeks at sea. They include at least 30 young children who appear to be unaccompanied. It was initially unclear if the group would be allowed to disembark, but locals took matters into their own hands and carried the survivors to safety. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Let's take a look at some business news, where the Monetary Policy Committee has retained the benchmark lending rate at 7% in the third consecutive sitting Thursday, saying the rate remains appropriate to cushion the economy against the adverse effects of COVID-19. The committee noted that policy measures initiated by the National Treasury since March are having intended effect on the economy and will be enhanced. According to MPC. Private sector credit has grown to 8.1% in 12 months to May, with manufacturing, trade, finance and insurance the leading credit flow. Exports also rebounded last month, improving 4.1% between January and May, driven by tea, horticulture and re-exports. MPC further expects inflation to remain within target range in the near term.
Dollars in April tripled in May to over $15 billion. CBK cites opening up of mobile transaction channels internationally as a cause for the projected increase in remittances. The banking sector has seen an increase in transactions conducted outside banking halls, rising from 88% of transactions between January to March this year to 94% in May and June, mainly driven by mobile money. So far, banks have restructured 23.4% of the total loan book, totaling 679 billion shillings. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
And in other business matters, the national government is constructing a 100 million shilling potato cold room at Madaraka in Meru County. Trade and Industry Chief Administrative Secretary Lawrence Karanja says a potato processing factory will also be constructed near the facility to enhance value addition and reduce post-harvest losses.
It is estimated that farmers lose 40% of the total farm produce to post-harvest losses. To address this for potato farmers, the government plans to construct 3 cold rooms in Meru, Kisii and Nyandarua counties at a cost of 100 million shillings each. After launching the construction of Olkalau facility in Nyandarua County early this year, the national government has embarked on construction of a similar facility in Madaraka, Meru County, which is set to be commissioned in the next 3 years. Trade and Industry Chief Administrative Secretary Lawrence Karanja says once complete, the facility will go a long way in stabilizing potato prices.
Na mnasikia kuwa kitakuwa kikihold tani 600 ya viazi, na nikifanya hesabu yangu ni karibu kama hizi lori za 33 karibu lori 300 zitakuwa zikiwekwa hapa. Therefore mtaweza wakati mnavuna viazi vyenu, ukiona hazina soko hazitaharibika. Mradi huu utachangia pakubwa kwa kupromote food security, sababu wakati unalima chakula na hauwezi kuhifadhi ndio uweze kutumia siku ya leo na siku ya usoni, itabidi uuze hiyo chakula haraka, na pia it will compromise your food security.
A potato processing plant will also be constructed to incorporate value addition and help minimize post-harvest losses.
Huwezi ukatengeneza kiwanda za kutengeneza viazi kabla una store, such that you can run for a number of months. Hata wakati hamjapanda, wakati viazi iko chini haijakuwa, mko na ingine inatoka kwa store inafanyiwa processing. Vile ambavyo wakulima wetu tunawaambia sasa, ukulima si tu a social activity. Ukulima should be done as an enterprise.
Potato traders and farmers have been advised to comply to the packaging regulations of not more than a 50-kilo bag. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And to business news making headlines globally, various cities in Spain, including the capital city Madrid, have reopened their borders to international tourists after being under one of Europe's toughest lockdowns for the past 3 months to contain the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. Spain, which is the second most visited country in the world, is desperate to reactivate the tourism sector. Here are details of this and other stories in our international business news roundup.
Spain has taken strict prevention measures after reopening of its borders. Every passenger that enters the Madrid-Barajas airport has to answer a set of questions before being cleared for immigration. The airports have also received a major makeover to abide to the social distancing measures as well as to ensure the safety of passengers and staff alike. However, Despite all the measures, many tourists still feel unsafe about traveling and being in crowds. Spain attracts more than 80 million tourists a year, providing more than 12% of the country's GDP, and reopening up the borders at such a time right before the summer season is seen as crucial to the Spanish economy. Meanwhile, an updated edition of the report on global trade data and outlook issued by the World Trade Organization shows a 3% decline of the global merchandise trade in the first quarter of this year. The new version of the report predicts that the decline will reach 18.5% in the second quarter. But it also says, thanks to the swift response by all governments, the global trade volume in 2020 is likely to avoid the previously anticipated worse situation of annual global trade shrinking by 32%. Finally, eco-friendly farms in the United Arab Emirates are playing an important and innovative role in stabilizing the domestic food supply after import restrictions have created a demand for local products. As a country in the desert, the UAE's supply of agricultural products largely depends on imports. In recent years, the UAE's government has increased input and support for agricultural innovation, which brought a boom for organic farms. According to local media, about 16% of fruits and vegetables in supermarkets across the UAE are from local green farms, and the number of various products exceed 100. Data shows that compared with the same period last year, the sales volume of local agricultural products has increased by 60%.
Time for sports. Liverpool's 30-year wait for a top-flight title is over after Manchester City lost to Chelsea 2-1 to hand the Reds the Premier League title. Jurgen Klopp's side needed one victory to seal the league, but City's failure to win means they cannot be caught. It is Liverpool's 19th top-flight title and their first since 1989-1990 season, despite being urged to stay home by the city's metro mayor because of coronavirus. Thousands of fans gathered at the Anfield to celebrate. Many of the supporters who congregated at the club's ground wore face masks and some lit flares. Kevin De Bruyne's brilliant second-half free kick cancelled out Christian Pulisic's breakaway goal for Chelsea, but Liverpool's title was confirmed with 12 minutes left when Fernandinho was sent off for handball on the line and Willian dispatched the resulting penalty. And a very big congratulations to Liverpool fans, led by Suleiman Yeri and Khalid Abdullahi and Rufus Hunja. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Good afternoon.